Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. My name is Emily. So things are looking a little different with the meat bird chicks than they did at the end of the last video because I went ahead and brought the rest of them inside. Unfortunately, just more of them even started getting lethargic and they were losing use of their legs and they were like throwing their head back and gasping for air and then dying. And I still really don't think it was the temperature, but that was the only thing I could do, was to bring them inside. At least I could keep an eye on them better. And we ended up losing a total of 18 out of 30 of the chicks, which was really sad because, that next morning was Easter morning. Dead baby chicks on Easter morning is not fun. And the last one that died, it died at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Easter. So I don't think it was to do with the temperature, unless it was because they were in transit for so long. If it was an illness, I would have think it would have just kept spreading from one chick to another until they were all dead, which is what I was afraid was going to happen. But thankfully, it's not. We still have 12 left, which is not very many. I've contacted the hatchery to see what can be done, but, it was on the weekend hours when this was all happening, so I sent them an email that they're supposed to respond to, but if I haven't heard from them today, then I'm going to call them and find out what's going on. And since I'm in the basement where all my plant starts are, let's go look at those, because they're doing awesome. This is all bee balm that I separated out. I've got some more that I didn't separate out. This is way more than I'm ever going to need of this plant, but I plan to share it with some other people. For here, I've got my basil, chamomile, dill, and cilantro. It's all looking pretty great. Then I've got some lupine started, some calendula, and I started a few seeds in here. There's a hollyhock, there's one marshmallow, and yeah, I think that's it that came up. And there's one Shasta daisy. Here I've got some of my tomatoes. Now I up-potted most of them, but I still have 4 varieties that I still need to up-pot, but I don't have enough space under the grow lights for them yet. There's some more basil, some Aunt Molly's ground cherries, and pineapple tomatillos, which I think are also ground cherries, but none of those have come up, unfortunately. Got some cosmos, some zinnias, and then I think since the last time I showed you this, I've up-potted all of my rhubarb. I have a couple peppers left over here that didn't get up-potted because they were so tiny and small, and some of them have just sprouted since I up-potted, and I left the rest of those in there. I've got lots of parsley, and in between the parsley there's some sage and some thyme. Down here on the bottom shelf, there's more of that bee balm. I've got echinacea, 3 different kinds of basil, some butterfly weed. My silver savory never did come up. And I've got more zinnias. And over here, my Canterbury bells have just started to germinate. They have been in here for quite a while. Then I've got celery over here. On this shelf that I had set up, I have the rest of the rhubarb, the rest of the calendula and cosmos, and my peppers. Here I've got a lot of tomatoes, and here are the rest of the peppers with some more rhubarb way in the back there. You can kind of see them. I've got all the lights turned out right now because it messes with the camera. And I actually have some plants outside hardening off which I'm really excited about. Today is their last partial day, and then tomorrow they will get to be outside for good. Some brassicas. What are they? This is the kohlrabi. Got strawberry spinach and black-seeded Simpson lettuce. Got my bunching onions. And then this one and this one are leeks, and the rest are onions and these milk jugs. And how big they're getting there on the bottom. That's like really exciting. Never had onion starts with this big of bulbs before I've planted them out. That's pretty cool. And then here's a bunch more brassicas and salad greens of different kinds. Let's see, there's cauliflowers here. These are all lettuces. This one is arugula, I think. Yeah, this is arugula. And that's... The corn salad isn't looking so great. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it was too close to the light, so I over-fertilized it. I don't know. That is tot soy, I believe. And then the rest of these are lettuces. Got broccolis. These are kales. This is a cabbage, pak choy, Brussels sprouts, I think. And then these 3 different kinds of cabbage. So most of this stuff is looking really good, and I'm really excited. Some of the pak choy already started going to seed. I pulled the flowers off of 2 of them, and you know, it's just really weird to me that it did that already. It was under the grow lights when it went to seed. Unfortunately, thanks to the dogs, we've had a couple of mishaps. You see that there's, you know, an empty cell there, and there's some empty cells over here, because this guy right here, this guilty dog, came up on the patio and knocked off a whole flat of seedlings and dragged a tray off into the yard and dumped them out. I've since put up this fencing. It's tucked behind this deck box here with a board to help support it, and it's poked into the ground on the other 2 sides so they aren't getting in here and knocking my plants over anymore. I don't think it was River, because I caught Jackson in the act trying to do it a second time. Hopefully I've thwarted them, because they didn't get into them yesterday and they haven't gotten into them so far today. They like the fish fertilizer that I use. They think it smells fantastic, and if there's any water, they want to drink it, and they want to eat the dirt, and ew. Can't convince them otherwise, so I've got this fence up. Hopefully that'll take care of it. I'm going to get the dogs back in the house, because they can't go out into the yard this way, even though that's what they want to do. And then we're going to head out to the garden. Now, while I would really like to be back to rototilling, because it rained and rained for many days, and it's finally good conditions that I could do that again, there are a couple other more pressing matters that need to be done. And the first thing I'm going to address is this apple tree. It needs to be trimmed, and I happened upon an expert who told me exactly what to do with it, which is awesome. I purchased something on Facebook Marketplace, and the man selling it offered to drop it off at my house since I don't have a truck right now. He happened to be a professional orchardist. Like, he has an apple orchard. And I mentioned these trees. Well, he was here, and he's like, oh, I'll take a look at them. And he told me, you know, cut this branch, cut that branch, you know, look for this, and those are the ones you want to cut. So it is very intimidating, but I feel more confident that I had a professional, like, actually tell me what to do. So I'm going to give it a try, and wish me luck. It's going to be very drastic. So, hold on to your seats, I guess. I'm going to be using a tool that is not typically used in a garden or probably even an orchard, I'm going to be using the chainsaw. And we're doing, I think it's called a jump cut, a foot or so away from the trunk. You do a bottom cut partway through, then you do a top cut all the way through past that, and then you go back and you cut it all the way through along the trunk. Hopefully I do this right, and hopefully it turns out well, and the apple tree will do better this year and for years to come. He did actually say I could chop it way back if I wanted it to be short, like I'm planning to do with my other trees that we planted last spring. But I'm too scared to do that. So I'm going to do the cuts that he suggested in the first place. Oops, I forgot to hit record apparently, and I've already cut quite a bit. And I was stopping to do some thinking about which ones I was going to do next. There's a few that I'm definitely going to need to get out a ladder, which will mean a second person just, for safety's sake. But I was trying to contemplate, okay, now which ones did he say were the best ones? Because you don't want them overlapping and you want sunlight to get into the tree. And I'm also thinking about how high I want the tree to go. Because there's some branches, like this one over here. This is a nice, big branch. It's got the one that goes up there. But that just keeps going up and up and up, and I really can't even reach the top of that with a ladder. So I'm thinking I might end up cutting that branch off and then letting this one that comes out this way be the one that is the main growth point, I guess. Next, I'm going to take out part of that one over there. I think he might have recommended taking out this entire branch here. This one is growing out in its own direction, but this one is growing into the tree next to it. But I don't know if I should take the whole thing out or if I should take it out to here and let this one keep going. So that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to attempt, is to keep this smaller branch growing out to the side. It's not overlapping any other branches, at least not at this point. And next year or the year after that, I could change my mind and cut it off. So this time I'm actually going to record me using the chainsaw. And then I'm going to move over to the other apple tree, because I think everything else on this first apple tree that I want to cut is going to be way too high for me to be using the chainsaw from the ground. Honestly, and probably some of the stuff I've already cut is probably too high. So that is a pretty big pile of limbs, and I'm not even done with this tree yet, but definitely opened up the middle a lot more to sunlight, and it's a good start. I have to go in and check on the bread that I'm making, but hopefully if it doesn't start raining. It was sprinkling for just a second and I almost quit, and then it stopped. So I'll come back out and work on this tree next, and hopefully it goes just as easy. That last branch, the only one that you actually saw me cut, was actually the hardest, and some of the really smaller, kind of twig-like pieces hit me in the head, but I'm fine. I was mostly underneath that other branch to kind of protect me from it falling. That's kind of how I'm trying to position myself, is that the branch will hit some other part of the tree instead of me, or it will fall completely away from me. That's the goal anyway. But also I don't really know what I'm doing, so don't do what I do because it's probably not the right way to do it. The Golden Delicious apple tree is next. I have no idea what kind of tree this one is. I would guess Honeycrisp just because it's a really popular kind of apple. And this one is definitely, I think, a Golden Delicious. Yeah, definitely, I think. I'm not 100% sure because I'm just guessing, but it tastes and it looks like a Golden Delicious apple. And it is delicious and golden. We'll be back out here in a few minutes to tackle this one. So it is much later than I thought I would be back out here after my quick break because we got rained out. But I am finally back out here with my lovely assistant and the ladder, and we are going to keep tackling these trees. First tree we are pretty much done with. The second tree, I think it was kind of butchered the last time they cut limbs off. I think whoever did it was just doing it for the sake of mowing around it and not for the sake of being able to pick apples easily. So I have to think a little bit about which branches to cut off. I know the guy kind of pointed out some stuff, but he pointed out more stuff on the first tree than the second tree. So I'm not really sure which branches I want to get rid of on this one yet. I was hoping to finish both trees today, but that's not happening. We're running out of daylight, and this tree is just harder. Just trying to figure out which branches to cut and which branches to leave because they're all like twisty and turny and there's not really a good north, south, east, west branch. I mean, the other tree was pretty much good confirmation and this one is kind of out of whack. But doing my best, and that one branch almost fell on my head. It hit the ladder, not me. So I'm okay. But it was, growing practically straight up, which I never would have been able to ever reach any of those branches or spray any of them if I wanted to use some sort of preventative sprays for things. So I guess if it doesn't decide to rain again, we will be back out here tomorrow. We are done with the trees. It was very dramatic and a little scary, and we're definitely going to get a lot less apples this year because we cut off so much old growth, but I think next year it should be pretty good, so we'll see. The tree's still alive. It'll be fine, whatever happens. But we are going to go in and take a break, and then we are going to move on to our next thing that I, for some reason, thought I was going to get done yesterday as well. But we are going to head over into the chicken yard, and we are going to put up some netting between the chicken yard and the garden. Because, as you can see here, the chickens have been scratching up the mulch from the garden beds. And in particular, they got into my garlic. And I put the mulch back, but it was all out away from the garlic, and one of them they kind of broke off the leaves, so that is not good. But this is the fence between the garden and the chickens, and it has these really tall posts, which is going to come in great handy for putting up the netting. I'm going to use the same netting that I did in the ceiling of the chicken coop, just bird netting, and I'm going to put that up. It's going to go all the way across over to this barn, and we're going to attach it with another piece of wood like that and go all the way around. And we might go ahead and go all the way down the fence next to the garden, that fence over there. But I'll give you a quick look at these trees now. Here is one of 2 piles of brush. This is definitely the bigger pile. Smaller piles over there. But we cut these down, trying to pick branches that we're gonna end up angling more downward instead of going straight up where there's no way we could reach. And I'm sure it's not perfect. This tree was much more challenging because, as you can see, the first tree, it splits off pretty low to the ground. This tree doesn't split off until it's like shoulder height for me. And like this branch probably would have been an awesome branch to have fruit growing out of because it's nice and low, but I think it was cut off for ease of lawn mowing, if I had to guess. I think I said that yesterday, but like we cut this one off there because this branch is coming down at a bit of an angle instead of straight up like the other one was. This one is the only one that's questionable, that might end up getting shortened somehow, but we'd have to go on the other side of the fence for that, and I don't really feel like doing that right now. So we'll just see how it does, and maybe that branch will just be for the deer. We'll see. I'll see you back out here after lunch. We are back at it for our next project, and we're going to add another board to the side of this barn, but up higher, and get this netting up. Hopefully this will go quickly. Unfortunately, we ended up with about 2 to 3 feet short from getting to that last pole down there. So we went ahead and just cut it off at this pole right here where the ladder is, and I'll just get some more stuff at the hardware store. I'll probably go ahead and get the more expensive stuff that's actually for deer for the rest of it, because we're going to go around that corner and down the side of the garden that has the wooden fence on it now. We're going to go ahead and grab some zip ties, and we're going to zip tie the bottom of this netting to the fence. Especially, there's a couple areas where the fence, you know, kind of weaves in and out, because it's not a permanent great fence that's properly stretched or anything. It's just something I jerry-rigged and threw up last year when I wanted to let the chickens have a confined area but not go in my garden. And I mean, it worked last year. I think maybe one chicken got over there one time and didn't mess with anything. But this year they've been hopping over the fence frequently and starting to scratch things up. They're kind of doing it in the orchard too, around the base of the trees and the bushes. So we're going to have to address that over there as well, but not today. we got from the barn to this pole, and we still have from this pole to that pole, around the corner to that pole, and then all the way down to the end of this fence to go. I was hoping it was going to reach at least to the end of this shared fence with the chickens in the garden today, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I don't think I finished my thought about why we were zip tying it to the fence. It's because the fence kind of curves in and out, and I didn't want the chickens to be able to jump up between the netting and the fence where it was not connecting. So we went ahead and just put these zip ties on just to keep it so that they were closer to each other. And that is going to be it for today. So thank you for hanging out with us while we did these two projects, or at least got started on one of them and finished the other one. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.